Hi, this is MJ, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to make our hooded rabbit blanket. So this pattern will require that you work through it with the PDF. I have it available in toddler, child, and adult size, and you'll find the link in the description box. So the yarn that I'm using is Bernat Softy Chunky, and I will be showing you in the color linen as well as natural for the bunny tail. You will require 2 hook sizes for this pattern. So I'm using a 10mm crochet hook as well as a 6.5mm crochet hook. And these are Furl's Streamline Taurus hooks, and there will be a link with a coupon code in the description box. The yarn can be purchased through the link in my description box through Mary Maxim, and they also have a kit available that includes the yarn as well as the pattern. So we'll begin with our 10mm crochet hook and our main color yarn, and we'll begin by chaining out 53. So let's make a slip knot and put that on the hook. And we're going to chain a total of 53. And just make sure that you don't make those chains too tight, because we'll be working into those back humps, and we'll also be working in extended single crochets, which is a fairly wide stitch, so just make sure that chain isn't too tight. And now we'll be working in to the second chain from the hook, but we're gonna flip the chain so that we can see the back humps, and we'll be working into that rather than the back loop of the chain. So now we'll work an extended single crochet, and we're working extended single crochets into every chain across. So when you complete that, you should have a total of 52 stitches. Okay, and at the end we'll chain 1 and turn, and we'll do another row of working just in the main color, working across in extended single crochets. So go through the stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So I'll complete that row, and then I'll show you how we're going to change the color for the tail. Okay, so at this point, your blanket, it should be measuring about 34.5 inches. So you want to have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches in 4 inches, as you can see here. Okay, so if you are off, you may need to go up a hook size, down a hook size, whatever you need to do, so that you get approximately that 6 stitches in 4 inches. So now row 3 will begin our color work. So we'll be starting the tail. So you need to work over a total of 19 stitches in the main color. So I'm going to go ahead and work across my 19, or actually I'll work across 18, and then I'll meet you up for the 19th stitch. Okay, so I've worked to 18 stitches. So on my 19th stitch, we'll pull through 1, and now we'll pull through the last 2 loops with the new color. We're also on the right side of our work, so just some notes here. We want to keep all of our tails to the wrong side of our work when we're working. We're going to pull through now with the new color. I'm going to crochet over this tail, but I'm dropping off the main color. So we'll work 1 ball of our main color on this side and the other on this side, and then we're not carrying yarn throughout. So you won't see any of the color poking through. So now we'll work across 14 in our color A, or our contrast color. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Okay, so now I'm coming up to the 14th stitch. So we'll pull through one, and then we'll grab another ball of our main color. And we'll pull through the last two loops. So now we will drop off color A, and then we'll work across in the main color. And I just crochet over that tail. So that just saves a little bit of weaving. So this is the start of the tail now. So this is how we're going to work through the pattern. We're going to keep all of our tails to the wrong side of our work. And we're going to have a main color ball on this side of the tail and another ball of main color on that side. And then we'll just work our color A contrast color in between. So I'm going to finish working across and then I'll meet you up again. Okay, so I've gotten to the end. I've chained one, and now I just like to flip my work as I turn, just to keep everything straight. And now this time we're going to work across only 18 stitches rather than 19 because our tail is going to begin to expand. So I'll work across 17 stitches and then I'll meet you up again. Okay, so now there's a couple things you can do here. I like to just mark that I know what is the wrong, what is the right side. Now, because you'll see some tails to the wrong side, that's an indicator. And you can also add a stitch marker always to the right side, just a clasp one, and then that will just help you remember what sides to pull your tails to. So I'm coming to my 18th stitch now. So we'll pull through one, and I'm going to keep now my tails all to this side of my work. I'm going to pull in my cream. And then as you can see, we have this pull across this stitch. I'm just going to go right under it. And then I'll work across in my cream color. So I'm keeping this tail here rather than it popping through onto the right side. So I'll work across and then I'll meet you up when we change color again. So as our tail is expanding, we're going into the main color here. So you can always pull that up and just crochet under it. Okay, and now we're dropping off, again, keeping our tail here to the wrong side. I'm now grabbing the main color and pulling it through those last two loops, and then continuing to work across. You should have 18 stitches because your tail should be centered evenly between each side. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do is follow along with the graph. The PDF includes a large graph of the pattern as well as the written directions. So whatever you prefer, I like following myself along with the written directions and just highlighting off as I go, just so I keep track of the rows. But this is a fairly easy color change pattern. We'll be expanding our tail and then we'll have a section of it staying the same, and then we'll narrow it off again. So I'm going to complete mine off camera and then I'll meet you up when that is complete. Okay, so here is how the blanket should be looking once you're finished. So I've worked a total of 38 rows, and rather than fastening off, I'm just going to leave my working yarn here to join back on later. So we should be ending on our wrong side, and then there'll be some yarn left over here to do the edging after we complete the hood. So the next step will be to work on the hood of our rabbit blanket. So I'll be working the hood with the main color yarn and the larger hook. Let's make a slip knot, get that on the hook, and we're going to start out with a chain of 7. And we'll work extended single crochets across the chain, and we'll work 2 in the final chain. So an extended single crochet, so I've worked across 5 in total, and then in the final we'll do 2. Okay, and now turning and working down the opposite side of the chain, we'll work 2 in that first, and then work down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oops. So we should have a total of 14 stitches, and we don't join this up. It's worked in rows, but it's sort of going in that rainbow format. So we'll chain 1 and turn, and now we'll work an extended single crochet in each of the next 5. And then we'll work 2 in each of the next 4 stitches. So you're adding 2 extended single crochet in each of the next 4. And then finish off working 1 extended in each of the next 5. Chain 1 and turn. Okay, so for row 3 now we'll work an extended single crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. And then so I've completed the 6, and now in each of the next 6 we'll double it up and do 2. So 2 extended single crochets in each of the next 6 stitches. And now in each of the next 6 stitches, we're just adding 1. So at this point, we should be up to 24 stitches. And for row 4, we're just going to work 1 in each stitch across. So for a total of 24 stitches. So I'll complete this row now off camera, and then I'll meet you up for row 5. Okay, so now for row 5, we're gonna do another increase. So we're gonna work 1 extended single crochet in each of the next 8 stitches. And then we'll work 2 extended single crochets into each of the next 8. Now in our final 8 stitches, we'll work 1 extended single crochet in each stitch. So now we'll be increased to 32 stitches, and we are just going to work now rows until the hood is formed. So every row now we'll work 1 extended single crochet in each stitch across for a total of 32 stitches. So this is row 6. I want you to do a total of 15 rows, and then we'll meet back up again. So I'm going to work my 15 rows off camera, and then we'll meet up. So as we work the hood, it's going to begin to curve over, and it's going to take its shape as we stop increasing. If we were to continue to increase, we'd have this flat piece, but as we stop increasing, it's going to gradually fold over to create the hood. Okay, so once you've completed your 15 rows, the hood should look like this. Now I'll give it a little measure for you just so you can make sure that you are on track with the sizing. So it's measuring about 18 inches. And I like to do the back of the hood as well, which is about 7. Now you'll want to fasten off with a long tail because we'll use this tail to sew the hood to the blanket. So for the ear, I'm going to use the 6.5 millimeter hook, and we're going to begin the back of the ear with the main color. So let's make a slip knot, put it on the hook, and we'll begin with a chain 3. We're going to work a single crochet into the second chain from the hook in the next chain. Chain 1 and turn, work 2 single crochet in the first stitch, 2 single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1 and turn. We'll work a single crochet in each stitch across. Chain 1 and turn, work 2 single crochet in the first stitch, work a single crochet into the next 2, and then 2 in the last. Chain 1 and turn, and we'll work 1 in every stitch across. Chain 1, work 2 in the first, and 1 in each stitch across to the last stitch. And then we'll do 2. Chain 1 and turn. We'll work 1 in every stitch across. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now for rows 7 through to 12, we'll just work 1 in every stitch across for a total of 8 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and work those rows off camera, and then I'll meet you back up again. So row 7 through 12. Okay, I've worked a total of 12. We're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do some decreases. So we'll decrease the first 2 stitches. We'll work across to the last 2. So go through, pull up a loop, go through the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull up a loop, go through the next, pull up a loop. So you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Chain 1 and turn. We'll work a single crochet across. Okay, and in the final stitch, we'll add an additional stitch. Now we're going to single crochet around the entire ear. So make sure you count as you go. You just want to make sure you do an even number of stitches on each side. So 1, 2, add 2 in the top. Now we need that extra stitch in the corner and slip stitch to join. and then you can fasten off. So there is your outside piece of your ear. Okay, and now the inside piece. Again, we're working with the 6.5mm hook, and now we're using our color A, so the light cream. We'll begin again with a slip knot, putting that on the hook, and we'll chain 3. Work a single crochet in each stitch across, chain 1 and turn. We'll work 2, in the first stitch, 1 in the next stitch. Chain 1 and turn. We'll work 2 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 in each of the next 2. So now we have 4 stitches. Chain 1 and turn, work 2 in the first, 1 in each of the next 3. And now we have 5 stitches. We'll chain 1 and turn, work 2 in the first and 1 in each of the next 4. Chain 1 and turn, and now we'll work 1 in each stitch across. So that's row 6, and I want you to complete just working 1 stitch across now for a total of 10 rows. And now for row 11, we'll chain 1 and turn. We're going to do a decrease. So decrease the first 2 stitches, work across to the last 2, and do another decrease. So now we've decreased to 4 stitches. Chain 1 and turn, and we're going to work this just like the other ear. So we're going to work across 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do an extra stitch in the corner, and now we're going to work around the entire ear. So work up, add 2 up in the tip, and then the same amount of stitches, and I'll meet you up at the end. Okay, so I worked 11 up the side, 2 in the top, 11, and then we're adding an extra in that corner, just like we did at the start. Slip stitch to join, and we're going to fasten off with a long tail for sewing. So now what I want you to do is look at your ear. So you want your nice edge here. So this is the right side. It has a nice V stitch all the way around, and you can see the same thing here. So they look much different on this side, so you can really tell the difference. So you're going to sit now the smaller, your inner ear piece into the backing. You're going to take your yarn needle and what we'll do now is sew. I don't want you to touch this nice outside stitch. I want you to go through just the piece of the ear here, going through the back loop only. So you just need to kind of fold it, grab a piece of yarn so that you're not, we're going to see the nice stitch. So you're just going to do this all the way around. Just neatly sewing it inside the outer piece. So I'm just going to continue to sew that off camera, then I'll meet you back up because we're going to pinch the bottom together so our ear has a base and it's going to stand up well. And now you can even work that you're going through every other stitch, and that should be enough to nicely secure the ear, and it will go a little bit quicker if you just go through every other. Should look like this along the side. So once you work around, I'm just going to sew the bottom now together. Just pinch the ear And then you can just get the tail, weave that tail in. And now you can also do that with your main color. So this yarn is really nice and easy to mold, so you can really get a nice shape to your ear. So you just want to go ahead and make your second ear, and then I'll meet you up again. Next, I'll be showing you how to make the snout. So I'm using the 6.5mm hook, and we'll be working with color A. We'll make a magic ring. Insert your hook through all 3 loops, pulling the first loop through, and then we'll chain 1. Work 6 single crochet into that ring. Now we'll want to pull the ring tight, so just move your work out of the way so you can see your 2 loops. Take your tail. It's going to pull 1 loop in and leave that other loop out, so just take the loop that started to pull, give it a tug. Take your tail, and now your loops are nice and tight and they won't come loose. So now we'll slip stitch in the first single crochet up under the 2 loops of the stitch. We'll chain 1 and we'll work 2 single crochet into every stitch. Just got a little snag here. So there is 2 in the first stitch and 2 into the next. So just repeat that all the way around. We'll slip stitch in the first single crochet to join, chain 1, and now we'll just work a single crochet into every stitch around. Okay, so I'll complete that. Okay, so I've slip stitched to join. We can fasten off, and then we're going to make another one. So I'll make my second piece, and then I'll meet you up for sewing them together. Okay, so I have my 2 pieces. I am just going to put them right sides facing together, and we're just going to sew about 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it should look like this. I've just left my little tails just to add a little bit of stuffing, or you could stick a little bit of polyester fill in there to stuff them up. Okay, so for the face marking, I am going to use the main color. You could do it in the cream, but I'm going to go ahead. This just gives some shape to the hood. So what we'll do now, I'm using the 6.5mm hook. We'll chain out 3. A single crochet in the second chain from the hook and the next chain. Chain 1, work a single crochet in each stitch across, chain 1, work 2 in the first stitch, 1 in the next. Rows 5 through 6 will work 1 in each stitch across. 1, 2, 3, chain 1 and turn, 1, 2, and 3. Row 7 will work 2 in the first and 1 in each the next 2 stitches. Chain 1 and turn. We'll work 2 and then 1 in each of the next 3. So there's 5 stitches. chain 1, we'll work 2 in the first, 1, 2, 3, 4, so we're up to 6 stitches, chain 1 and turn. We'll do 2 in the first, and then across 5, and we're up to 7 stitches. Chain 1 and turn, we'll just work 1 in every stitch across for row 11. Now we can fasten off with a long tail for sewing to the hood. Okay, so for sewing, I didn't leave a long enough tail from my little snout piece. So I'm just gonna grab some other yarn. You wanna make sure that you're not sewing down into those final stitches because we still need to work our edging. So you just wanna evenly make sure that the little snout is on even before you start sewing. Now, I always suggest just don't weave any tails in until you have sewn everything in place. And then if you need to adjust, you can always pull it off. So you're just gonna go around taking a little piece of the hood, going through the back loop only of that stitch. Kind of keep them that they're puffed out. Now you could add a little bit of stuffing to them to help them stay puffed out. But it's not necessary. I'm not going to add any to mine. This yarn is pretty flexible and you can mold it like really well. I also wanted to mention, if you don't have the super bulky yarn, just use 2 strands of worsted weight. Double up and it will work out just fine. So I'm going to continue sewing all that around. Okay, so next what you want to do is sew on your face piece, and it's just going to go up to the top of the hood, down to the center of the snout, and then we'll sew on our nose piece next. So just you want to make sure again that it is centered here on the hood. We're going to use our tail we can always give it a little shape as well. We're sewing it on. Don't sew it out too flat. And so I'm just going to go around going through a little piece of the hood and sewing through the face piece. So again, I'm going to sew that off camera and then I'll meet you up. Okay, so I finished that off and I'm just putting all of my tails to the inside for now, just in case I need to make any changes. And then if you don't, you can just weave them all in on the inside. So next we're gonna grab a little bit of black yarn. You're just gonna need a little bit to embroider a nose onto the bunny. Okay, so I just knotted my tails and I'm just going to trim them. Okay, so now for the ears, it's kind of easy once you've sewn this on just to kind of gauge where the ears are going to go. So you basically want them standing straight up on the top of the bunny hood. And because we've created this nice base on the bottom, we want that sitting onto the top of the hood. I am not doing good here at getting that on. Okay. So if the hood is sitting on the head, you want the ear, the base is sewn right where it's going to be sitting. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a little sew. Just to continue pinching that ear. I'm going to put my yarn to the front. And when you sew it, you're going to go all the way around the ear. So you're going through the hood and you're going through the ear as well. All the way around to the back. And again, just don't weave your tails in. If you need to readjust the ears to even them up, or if you try the hood on and the ears are flopping, you just can readjust them. So we're just working our way all the way around the ear. And with that base, it's going to help once it's on the child's head to help balance the ears. Okay, so I have one sewn. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side, okay? Getting them nice and close together up at the top. So I'll sew this one off camera now on, and if I need to make any adjustments, I will. And if everything is good, I'll weave my tails in. Next, you just want to adjust your eyes, and these are about a 20 mil size, and you'll need a finer needle and either some thread or worsted weight yarn to sew on the buttons. So I just like to keep it nice and close to the face piece. And then you can just knot that to the inside of the hood and give it a trim. And just repeat the same thing for the other eye. Okay, so what you want to do is measure out the center of the blanket for attaching the hood. So what I do is I just lay the hood down, center it as well as I can, and then count your stitches. Make sure you have the same amount of stitches on each side. I have about 11, and I've added a stitch marker just so I know I'm sewing the hood between the markers on the blanket. And you're just gonna take your yarn needle, use this one for bulky yarn, and we're just gonna sew the hood between the markers. So you're just gonna go through a stitch of the blanket and then just go through the hood. And just sew that all the way across, making sure to keep this end of the hood right up to that marker. So I'll sew my hood on off camera and then I'll meet you up. So I'm just finishing up here in my last stitch, and then you can just weave your tail in. So the next step will be finishing our edging before adding our little paw mittens. So I'll finish weaving that and then I'll meet you back up again. Okay, so here is the yarn that I left off when making the blanket. So we're gonna chain 1. And now we're gonna work single crochet stitches around the entire blanket to finish off this edge. So as we come across here, we're just gonna work and continue up the stitches of the hood, working all the way around. I'm gonna add 3 single crochets in my corners just to make that nice corner edge, and then I will meet you up. So I'm just at the corner here, so I'll add 3 stitches. And now what I find for extended single crochet rows is that we'll wanna do 2 stitches in one row and then 1 in the next. So maybe take these rows with the larger gap and add your 2 stitches, and then the next row add 1. And that should keep your edge fairly straight and even. So you're looking at 3 stitches for every 2 rows. And that should give you a nice clean edge. Now you might find if it's looking a little wobbly, tighten up your stitch, or you may have to reduce the number of stitches you're doing. But I'm gonna try and keep my stitches really tight, and that should take care of that little wobble that I can kind of see. So I'll complete working around and I'll meet you up at the end. To make the paws, we'll make a magic ring, and with our smaller hook, pull through and chain 1. We'll work 8 single crochet in the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now we'll just move our work out of the way so we can pull the ring tight. And slip stitch to join. Chain 1, and now we'll work 2 single crochet into every stitch around. So I'll complete that off camera. Okay, so we should have 16 stitches. We'll slip stitch that to join, chain 1, and we'll work 1 single crochet into every stitch around. And I'll get you to do that 1 stitch around for a total of 8 rounds, including our first 2. So here's the 3rd round. So up to round 8, just work 1 single crochet in every stitch around. Okay, so I've completed 8 rounds in total. So now we're going to do a decrease round. So we're going to work a single crochet in the first and then do a decrease across the next 2. 1 in the next and then a decrease. 1 in the next. So pull up a loop, go through the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. We're just repeating this pattern all the way around. Ending with a single crochet. We'll slip stitch to join, chain 1, and now we'll just do 2 rounds at 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, and just do 1 more round. Fasten off, leaving a long tail. So we'll fasten off with a tail for sewing, and just make sure to keep that tail to the corner like this for sewing. And you'll just want to make another little mitten. Okay, so once I finished with the edging, I just slip stitch to join and fastened off, and I just cleaned up all my ends. So now to add on your mittens, you just want to make sure the yarn is to the side, and we're just going to sew. So right side of the blanket, and we're just going to sew this right on, and we're going to do this to the other side as well. Okay, so just like that, and then we can weave in the tail. And I'll just do the same thing to the other side. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell so you stay updated on all my new videos and tutorials. Thanks so much, guys. Have an awesome day.